Bom, pessoal, o microfone realmente é por causa da Michelle, porque estamos pequenos aqui hoje, dava para falar na milonga da voz, né? Mas vamos usar o microfone. E hoje nós estamos aí nesse nosso fechamento da semana, né? E a gente quer conversar sobre sustentabilidade do programa PDBFF no longo prazo, né? Então a gente vai conversar hoje as questões que serão trazidas pela Alfa, pela TLABC, pelo INPA e pelo Ministério do Meio Ambiente. Nós vamos conversar, inicialmente, vamos dar início, conversando com a WYMAN, e ela vai trazer para a gente uma conversa como envolver a pesquisa local globalmente, a política de conservação e multilateralismo, e ela fala representando o Thomas Lovejoy Amazon Biodiversity Center, o TLABC. Michelle, a palavra está com você, vamos conversar.
So let me start by introducing myself. My name is Michelle WYMAN, and I currently serve both on the board of directors for the Thomas Lovejoy Amazon Biodiversity Center. I also have the privilege of serving as the executive director. And I wanted to first provide a little bit of context for the organization itself. You'll hear me talk about an acronym, TLABC, which you can see here. Again, the Thomas Lovejoy Amazon Biodiversity Center. But I thought that for perspective, I would highlight the various acronyms that, can you all hear me okay? I'll try to speak more clearly. Actually, hopefully this works. The various acronyms that you all have been referring to over the course of the week, both in Portuguese and in English. So we have the BDFFP, which of course is the primary focus of this week's meetings. We have Alpha, the organization that was founded by Tom Lovejoy over 40 years ago in Brazil. We have INPA, the entity through the Brazilian government, which is a core partner and enabler to both the BDFFP and Alpha. And then again, we have the Thomas Lovejoy Amazon Biodiversity Center. Let's see if I can go back. The TLABC, the Amazon Biodiversity Center, this organization was founded by Tom Lovejoy, along with Mark O'Donnell, who is the chair of the TLABC Board of Directors, and he is currently also on this call and has joined the Zoom. So at the end of my presentation, which will be brief, we might have an opportunity to engage in discussion together and hear from Mark as well. Tom and Mark founded TLABC in 2018. The mission of the organization is to advance conservation and sustainable use of the Amazon and its biodiversity. And this is fully complementary to Alpha and really is born out of the science and the research success of the BDFFP, which again originated over 40 years ago, as many of you know, and firsthand have been executing the research on. The work of TLABC focuses on scientific research, training, courses and fellowships for students and emerging scientists, and also very specifically in amplifying and growing awareness about the Amazon, the Amazonian region, the role of the Amazon in the global atmospheric climate system and the biosphere, and really to demonstrate the data and the science and the role that they play from the Amazon in informing science policy decision-making at all levels of government, from local to global. So I wanted to spotlight today to really establish a basis for our discussion together and for questions that we might engage in, a perspective of the policy opportunity that we have right now. And this policy opportunity is born from the current national leadership in Brazil and also in the United States. We have two presidents that are closely aligned and share priority for biodiversity and conservation and recognize the role and understand the value of the Amazon in the global climate system. President Biden from the United States, when he came into office, he immediately prioritized the development of a new product coming out of the federal government here in the United States called the National Nature Assessment. This will be produced and published every 4 years. It will align and complement with the National Climate Assessment, and it will really capture the current ecosystems, biodiversity, and the status of nature in the United States. This first publication will establish the baseline of nature in the US, and going forward provide a more current snapshot of the status of nature as we continue to not only develop as a nation, but to implement policies that are informed by the National Nature Assessment to protect those more fragile ecosystems. I wanted to spotlight this particular policy instrument because it leads by example. It's a really strong, it holds and provides strong possibilities for other nations to follow course. And we can use these national nature assessments in the same way that we use climate assessments, not only for internal measurement and tracking of impact and progress by nations themselves, but also for countries to look across at each other to understand how other nations are doing in their progress, tracking their ecosystems, understanding the impacts and the vulnerabilities, the risks and the opportunities to protecting them. So we currently have the development of the first U.S. National Nature Assessment underway, and it is slated to be published in 2026. As you all know better than we do, with your new president in Brazil, for those of you that are there in person attending this meeting, there is a renewed commitment to the protections and reinstatement of protections for not only the Amazon, but the Atlantic rainforest and all of the ecosystems that Brazil is home to. Most specifically, President Lula has already reinstated the target of zero deforestation by 2030. And my point in calling out these two different examples is really to underscore the first point, that we have two national leaders that strongly align and are joined by many more from other nations in understanding the priority for protecting the Amazon and the role that it plays as a critical aspect of maintaining the atmospheric balance during this time of global change. As we go from understanding the ground zero research that many of you are leading in the Amazon, and that impact and the role that it can play in informing decision-making and policy-making at the national level, those national policies then can move upstream to inform multilateral policies and multilateral decision-making processes. Many of you may have participated in the global convention that took place in Montreal this past December, hosted by the United Nations Convention on Biological Diversity. And I'm certain that you all are aware of the Global Biodiversity Framework, which was the really groundbreaking treaty coming out of COP15 in Montreal that sets really ambitious targets for protecting biodiversity with 3 priority goals. And you can see those here: the conservation of biodiversity, the sustainable use of biodiversity and ecosystems, and the equitable sharing of the outputs from genetic resources and from the research. And the Global Biodiversity Framework is the first ever multilateral policy mechanism that demonstrates a level of reach across nations, in part because it was supported by all participating nations in the UN. And it gives us a goalpost to guide national policies and to inform national policies by. And I think this is something, as you all consider your research portfolios going forward, it's important to not lose sight of the upstream impacts and possibilities that your work, the role that your work plays from Alpha, from the BDFFP, in these multilateral processes. There is also a really strongly emerging thrust in the financial market around biodiversity finance, and the idea that that natural assets and natural ecosystems hold an entirely undervalued level of resource that can be captured through markets. And you can see this with the Global Environment Facility, the World Bank, the OECD. They have all begun to make tremendous investments, not only in the protections of nature, but also in looking at ways of putting value to nature and natural assets so they can be assessed in policy discussions differently to understand what is the value, the risk, and the potential loss by nations of these natural assets if they continue to be degraded. And of course, we can think about the deforestation and the rate of deforestation in the Amazon under the previous administration, and the loss of nature and the loss of value of that nature, not only from a monetary perspective, of course, but also from a social perspective. And then that leads me to the last point from a health perspective. So I really wanted to call out these three different multilateral policy platforms to demonstrate the diversity of roles that the science that you all are developing really need, and the currency of that science, and to maintain the priority for, and I'll go to my next slide, what TLABC, the Thomas Lovejoy Amazon Biodiversity Center, in partnership with Alpha and the BDFFP as a primary project, are really advancing. And those priorities are to ensure that the knowledge and the science that are developed on the ground in the Amazon through your work remains open access, that data is going forward made fully accessible and at the same time protected for its integrity, so that it continue to not only be used, but also to be accessed by all. That as we continue to deepen our understanding of the impacts of climate change to the Earth's biosphere and ecosystems, that in turn creates a feedback loop for policymakers, for philanthropists, and for the private sector, in understanding that global research is absolutely fundamental to continuing to understand the future of global change and how we not only ready ourselves for that, but we also look for the risks as well as the opportunities in those changes. And then finally, for TLABC, we are keen to continue to look for opportunities for capacity building, and that includes not only with scientists, but also with decision makers. You all probably experienced, or many of you have, the times that Tom would bring delegations to Manaus and to Camp 41 to help cultivate a deeper understanding and appreciation for the Amazon and its grandeur. And many of those delegate members were decision makers, key influencers from different sectors. And that was a very purposeful exercise to diversify the value for the Amazon and to reach beyond the scientific community and the knowledge development community, and to engage people from all different sectors in really appreciating and putting value to the Amazon in their different roles. So I want to pause there and remind everyone again of the collaborative nature and the structure of the various entities that are participating, and I'm sorry if there's an echo, participating together in this meeting this week. And we've really been pleased, Beto, with everything that you've put together for the week and appreciated the presentations. I'd like to invite now a discussion, and I will stop sharing my screen and hopefully my audio will improve a bit, to think together about how we might take advantage of these policy windows that we have given the national leadership in place, both in the United States and Brazil, and also the fact that the Thomas Lovejoy Amazon Biodiversity Center is located in Washington, D.C. as a sister nonprofit organization to Alpha and the BDFFP there in Manaus. So I'll pause to see if there are any questions, and also invite Mark O'Donnell, again, the chair of the board of the Thomas Lovejoy Amazon Biodiversity Center, to add any comments to what I've shared.
Obrigado, Michele. Eu vou abrir aqui para as pessoas fazerem perguntas.
Hi, Michelle. Good morning. This is Rita Mesquita here. How are you?
Hi.
Thanks for your presentation. I would like just to comment on your last. It's interesting because I will be talking soon, and basically our two presentations will intermingle a lot. Very, very similar. Is she hearing me? Are you hearing me?
Yes, I can hear you. I was trying to adjust for the echo, but I can hear you.
Okay. Now we have an echo here in our room. Okay. So my comment is that we should continue working together to like how we present what biological dynamics of forest fragments represent between these three institutions, because I think Alpha, INPA, and TLABC are institutions, but PDBFF is an overarching umbrella concept for these three institutions. So I think we need to continue looking for the best way to represent these interactions. And I consider this to be very critical in terms of the message that we send out, because PDBFF in reality is a bigger circle that puts all these three institutions together. Granted that INPA is just one portion of INPA, there's other things, the same way with TLABC. TLABC has other projects and other agendas, but when we talk about PDBFF, I think we should think about as this is the unifying action for these three institutions to be together. So it has to be some ways representing the connections of the three. So I hope we can continue, like when we discuss more and more like the strategic planning, that is also a strategic perspective on how we present the interactions of these three institutions. And then I totally agree with your appraisal of the opportunities for fundraising and for contributing to public policies for the Amazon. And in reality, I was going to talk about a lot of stuff pretty much in your steps. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Rita. I hope you can hear me. The echo is quite bad. There is another question in the chat, and I think the echo is so bad, I'm going to provide an answer in the chat thread rather than speak.
Hello, Michelle. Can you hear me? Okay, my name is Rafaelo. I'm organizing the questions from the chat. And Arildo has a question there. Can you read? Maybe it's easier for you. And then you can answer talking if it's good for you as well, because we can hear you well.
Hi, Michelle, Beto here. Can you hear me? I would like to understand a little bit better what is, you mentioned this 3 levels of organizations, or the global biodiversity framework, the biodiversity finance, and the World Health Organization. What are the opportunities for funding, and how these frameworks are tackling what they want fund for? I would like to learn a little bit more about that.
Boss? Michelle, can you hear me? This is Marita Koch-Weser, one of the reviewers. See, yeah, I don't know whether I should continue to talk, but let me try. Does the Tom Lovejoy Center have plans, Biodiversity Center, have plans to continue Tom's great tradition of bringing people here to Manaus? It is really fascinating, I can say, after the conference here this week, you know, in what detail you find documentation and you can get across what biodiversity means. You know, how many species of what are in a hectare of land, how they interact, and you know, how immensely complex this central Amazonian ecosystem is. So it would be wonderful if, you know, every year, small groups, well prepared, well briefed, could come here. I think this would be really become a place of science and biodiversity, and hopefully also in the future bioeconomy pilgrimage. So you have to help us to really keep up what Tom was so very good at. Thank you.
I can answer with voice here. Yes, we have a plan now for that, and that's we established with Michelle and Mark a date in every October. We're gonna have, they will bring people down. So what Tom used to do in Camp 41 every Christmas, we are now gonna do every October. So the second weeks of October, and that's already booked for this year, and hopefully we can do it next year, and then next year, and as much as we can. So, I think I would like to bring the discussions into how we affect policies, and that also stems from data sharing. Not only data sharing, but also producing results in a way that we can communicate to policies in a better way. We did here discuss a lot of preparing material for making this outreach, but I think one point that we could discuss now is how we improve our capacity of influencing policies, and it's. So how do you see that, Michelle? How TLABC sees our influence is not just data sharing. I mean, we are training people. We need to share data, but also I think we need to prepare material that is accessible in a language that everybody can understand. And that might be one thing that we decide here, that might be a priority for us to summarize everything that we produced in the past 43 years in some material that are informative and
just to say that I totally agree with you, Michelle. I was just commenting here the impact that the UN journalist group had just for like 4 or 5 days of a visit. So if we could make this happen with some regularity, in partnership with something like the UN Foundation. I mean, we basically had, we were in the news of the top communications, venues, everything like the reach of NPR is like over 50 million people. It's just amazing. Just having an interview with a researcher out of Camp 41 and being reproduced in different parts of the country. So I think if we look into this as part of a strategic action, then we really can put our message out. And it's probably the best investment of our effort. But in order to do that, we need to be prepared, because it can't we need to come up with the translation of our results for these people, because they will absorb it completely. And just to give right now I'm in the process of checking the cost of infographics for presenting scientific results to general public in a more friendly language, right? I mean, you can get like the top-notch company in Brazil to translate a scientific result into an infographic. And it costs about 1,500 reais, which is right now is probably $200, $300. So it is an enormous, it's a good investment for the result, because if you can produce these things and then with professionals and then have this ready to transfer to communications people, then the reach of this is immense, can be immense. But we need to have this as one strategy. One thing is to train people to be better communicators. And the other thing is to bring communicators to understand the biology and then, or the ecology of the forest, and then offer results in a way that is easy to understand.
Só essa história de apresentar resultados graficamente, Rita, que você mencionou, através de infográficos, isso é um pouco do que a gente pensou no projeto do Amor, um pedacinho para começar a fazer isso. Eu acho que isso é essencial, porque uma coisa é a gente compartilhar dados brutos, que o pessoal quer análise, que isso vai gerar um debate bastante complicado e acirrado dentro do projeto, né, ou dentro do meio acadêmico. Mas tem coisas de informação, que é a visualização dos resumos dos dados, dos produtos dos dados, que tem um apelo público muito grande, e eu acho que a gente tem todas as condições de ter as informações que saem das nossas bases de dados graficadas, né, e resumidas de uma forma que informem políticas públicas de uma forma em tempo real a partir das bases de dados que a gente está construindo e precisa polir e organizar. Então, acho que uma das prioridades que a gente deve ter é não só a organização dos dados, mas a criação de plataformas em que não necessariamente o dado bruto, porque aí entra em todo, né, a questão que o Arildo trouxe, mas que a gente tenha visualmente, né, e de uma forma bastante acessível, informar sobre os dados que estão sendo produzidos, sobre os efeitos, além de fazer todo um trabalho de comunicação que eu acho que a gente precisa avançar forte nessa coisa que a gente discutiu ontem, de preparar material didático para as escolas, porque não é só informar policy makers, a gente precisa também ter um papel importante, eu acho, na educação, né, da turma que vive aqui, né, não só lá fora.
Sistema de apontamento científico do
Michelle, I very much like your suggestion in the chat of a science communications academy. I hope you all will pursue it. I think also I'm coming from Europe, and you know, in Europe this would have immense interest in the press, but also in all the development agencies, because they know the issues in general. But if we can get better science communication, I think it will have a huge mobilizing impact. And here in Brazil, I think we have the beginnings in the program I work on here in Brazil, the Amazonia 4.0 program, of a rainforest business school system. So, courses taught at business schools to people interested in investing in sustainable bioeconomy as an economic alternative for standing forest-based. And again, you would have a huge audience there. So I just wanted to say that's a great suggestion. Thank you.
Hi, Michelle. This is Annie. I'm from ICMBio, as you know. And I was thinking about communication in Brazil as conservation federal unity. We don't have a visibility. So I think it's important for us to communicate. We have a video from PDBFF as conservation unity. Because we have a site, we can make a good movie, a short movie. And I think this is important for here in Brazil, to people from conservation unity and all the students to know about the PDBFF area. And also, I think we have in ICMBio, we have a program called Volunteer. And I think it's very important to divulgate, to show how important these areas are, calling students from all parts of Brazil to have a time here. And I think if we had a little short money for once a year to show this area, I think that would be a big impact inside Brazil and inside the colleges in Brazil, universities in general.
Hi, Michelle, Beto, again. I think you need to leave. You told me at 9:30. It's already 9:35. So I would like to thank you for bringing these points here and presenting TLABC for everybody. We're going to go next with the second talk. Thank you very much. And we're going to have discussions after the other talks too. So please, if you are able, please join us. If you're not, thank you very much for your time here today.